I wanted both things, and I was a selfish, immature shit. I've never regretted anything more than hurting my partner like that.
Fear of being alone, but that's the way it came.
I honestly hate reading stuff like this cause it puts so many irrational worries into my mind, just can't help taking a peek though.
Immaturity, and a lot of insecurity. I was a teenager the only time I ever cheated, and it wasn't even a thought process when I did it. It was really just, I want that right now, and the fact that I had a girlfriend didn't even cross my mind because I had never had to think of others' feelings in that way before. I was an insecure kid who thought that having a lot of sex meant I was masculine, and it proved something, but now I know it's just a scum move. After the person I cheated with told my girlfriend, I learned really quickly what those actions meant and what kind of behavior is expected from us. So wish I didn't have to hurt someone to figure it out though.
I have cheated once. I loved this guy more than I can say in words, but we did not have a healthy relationship. He cheated on me. I even caught him once in bed with another man, and I stayed with him anyways because he was my world. He was my best friend. He was my family. But we didn't have sex. It killed me inside. I would show up at his house wearing nothing but lingerie and a fur coat. I wish this was a made-up story by FML. It isn't, and he would ignore me. I didn't feel like I was attractive or sexy, and it got to the point where I didn't think he would even care if I had sex with someone else. So one night, I was out at a show with a bunch of people, including a guy the first had an innocent crush on, and we ended up kissing. One kiss. I felt terrible about it afterwards. Sick. I confessed to my boyfriend and he went insane. He punched the windshield of my car and shattered it while I was driving. It was bad. He felt betrayed. Looking back at this 20 years later, it's obvious what was going on, but I didn't see it at the time. I was young, naive, and he was everything to me. I regretted hurting him then, and I still regret it to this day. I have never cheated on anyone again. Cheating isn't the answer. Talk it out, work it out, or get out. I've never cheated on anyone, but my dad had an affair once. Honestly, I think the only reason he stayed with my batshit insane alcoholic mother at all is because of me and my sister.
I've never been in a relationship, but know two people who have cheated. Both said they still loved their so, but something was missing and they sought that from other people. They didn't want to leave their current relationship because they were still getting something good from it. But something else important was missing, so they simply got that from another.
I was in an abusive relationship, but I didn't love myself enough to leave it.
I cheated with an ex long-term, so that relationship was so fucking codependent and unhealthy. The breakup made me want to die. I was trying so hard to move on and put myself back together. I didn't want to end the new relationship. The ex was like my kryptonite. It took a long time to be able to not get sucked back in. It was because of my own baggage, not the new, so I screwed up.
I was in an abusive relationship and wanted to feel like I had power over something. I didn't.
Due to low self-esteem, I thrived off attention, so rather than saying, no thank you, I have a girlfriend, I'd let things continue. But at the same time, I also craved stability, so never wanted to break things off with said girlfriend. There's nothing I regret more than hurting my ex like I did, and karma finally caught up with me a few years later when I was cheated on by a different girlfriend, repeatedly. I didn't end that relationship after I found out about her cheating the first time, as I felt I deserved it from my past shittiness. I vowed never to cheat again, especially after feeling the pain myself.
Married almost 4 years, together 8. My husband is in a treatment center for an addiction that has surfaced over the last year or so. So much heartbreak has led up to him going to treatment. He's been out of the house for almost 2 months and I'm alone with my babies. My kids are very little, I'm still nursing and I stop generally when they get teeth. He hasn't been contributing financially, took money, has been reckless, but I don't have any suspicion of him cheating whatsoever. I feel all the feeling that go along with cheating: betrayal, humiliation, anger, diminished self-worth, etc. He went to treatment last night. He has pleaded for me to stay. I told him I'd be here. I found myself on a dating site. I can't tell you why. None of the men on there appeal to me like my husband does. I'm still very much in love with him. I know how addiction works. I myself do not deal with anything personally, but I read up. I get it's out of his control, but none of it is really any consolation. The more messages I respond to, the more normal it seems. I guess maybe I was looking for some kind of personal validation, or maybe to adopt some kind of alternate lifestyle that he would hate, like he did to me. Sounds petty, I know, don't judge me, I'm going through it. Anyway, point is, after reading these posts I know I'm being ridiculous. I don't want to cheat. Not like this. If treatment doesn't work out for us, then I will have to do what's right for my family and end the relationship. Thank Reddit for renewing my strength today.
I was broken from a previous, very serious relationship, the aftermath of which pretty much ruined my life as it was, and had me single for 4 years. About 6 months into my first new relationship, I ended up flirting with a girl who was not my just a random, at a party and getting a cab with her to her house. Just flirting, and the girl cooled off quick once we were in her house, so I left before anything happened, but the damage was done, was as good as cheating as far as I was concerned. A lot of difficult discussions, hurt feelings, and self-reflection brought me to these understandings. I did it because I knew if I was with my so much longer, I'd be getting into another deep, life-defining relationship, and I was afraid of letting myself have those emotions. I liked the feeling of being independent of my feelings for my as if they didn't matter to me even though they very much did. I was afraid of letting someone have power over how I felt, and afraid of bringing about another catastrophe. If there was a catastrophe coming, I liked the feeling of having control over it. Also, chronic issues with porn addiction, stemming from the fallout of that former relationship, had me treating the dopamine from the promise of quick sex like anxiety medicine. Perfect storm. After about 2 months I told my the truth, that I had gone back to this girl's apartment to cheat on her, but nothing happened, and hard though it was we worked through. About 5 months after that we had a major blow-up when she found the strength to confront me about how fucking shit that was of me, pointing out that the girl was the one who shut the situation down, not me, that I might have gone through with it in full if the girl had been up for it. I've had to do a lot to try and win back my trust. Since then I've done a ton of self-work to make myself better for her, journaling to make myself conscious of my feelings, gratefulness to accept them, and nofap 255 days as of now to try shift the porn addiction. Thank Jesus, she's forgiven me, and we're looking at starting a life together now. I don't know if I'd forgiven if the roles were reversed. I'm seriously with an angel of a human. She makes me want to earn her trust and kindness just by giving it to me freely.
My now ex told the woman he was cheating on me with that he wasn't getting enough attention at home. In truth, he was being verbally and emotionally abusive to me, giving me the silent treatment, pushing me away and sabotaging our marriage because he thought I should just read his mind instead of opening his mouth and telling me what he was upset about. He stopped parenting his teenaged son out of spite because I called him out on his lax parenting. He would test me constantly by leaving shit all over the house knowing it would make me upset. Etc. etc. In actuality, he just was a selfish, abusive jerk who refused to talk to the person who loved him the most and just wanted to work things out. He ran away from his problems instead of facing them like an adult. I had realized that I was having a mental breakdown and went and got help, including intensive EMDR therapy for diagnosed CPTSD, and instead of helping me through my therapy process, he was fucking someone else. He never was going to end our marriage. Yes, he left me to go live with his parents, but he kept coming back wanting sex. Eventually I told him I wasn't going to be his side piece when he wasn't around the woman he left me for. Nothing would have changed if I hadn't set those boundaries. Sure, she was 10 years younger than me and thinner than me, and she never had to ask him to clean up after himself or ask his son to do his chores. Apparently he has distanced himself from his parents, siblings and now adult children as well in favor of this woman and her 5 children. I hope it was worth it to him. What happened? I was crossfaded to the point where I didn't really know what was happening. As a part of a spin the bottle game I found myself in, I ended up making out with about 5 people. Why I did it, at first I told myself it was a drunken mistake, that I wouldn't have done it if I was sober or even moderately drunk. Which I'm sure is actually true. But looking back at it, I wasn't that happy, and it was only about a month into the relationship. I'd known by the 3rd date that it wasn't going to work out in the end. We got along well, but something just didn't feel right. I think that might have played a part in what I did. Why didn't I end the relationship before? He was a great person, and I didn't think I could do any better.
Because I justified to myself that it wasn't cheating at first. I've never told this story before, but I was in a relationship that I was pretty unhappy in. It wasn't just the relationship, I was depressed and scared of being alone, so I didn't end it when I should have. We moved in together and things got worse. My girlfriend was bisexual and had some interest in a threesome. I was somewhat detached from the relationship at the time and had met a new girl at work who I had a lot of chemistry with. I was in the service industry at the time and there was lots of after-work drinks and me and this girl were hitting it off. I told my girlfriend about her, strictly mentioning the physical aspect, and she told me to pursue it. I did, and we all went out for drinks one night and it happened. It was very strange because it hit me during that I had real feelings for the other girl. My girlfriend had to work early, but as she left she told us to have fun, which I took full advantage of. After that I started seeing the other girl somewhat regularly and was officially cheating. I found out a few weeks later that my girlfriend knew and thought it would lead to a fun partner for us, but in actuality I was falling for the other girl. Her being cool with it did not last long, big surprise, but by that time it was all over and I was madly in love with the other girl. We have been together ever since and married for 3 years with a new baby. I will always feel terrible about how things ended. I was a complete coward and should have come clean as soon as I started having feelings for the other girl, but I hid what was really happening, which hurt my girlfriend at the time tremendously. Last I heard and saw, she was doing great things in her life and was in a great relationship. I wish so much that I could go back and undo the hurt I caused her, but that is something I will always have to live with.
Because if I even mentioned cutting things off with him, he would hit and throw things at me until I bled and bruised. He was a very, very morbid man, which didn't show until years into the relationship to begin with. I cheated on him because the person I went to as a safe haven in between assaults made me feel safe and made me feel loved, and I didn't have a feeling of, I need to get out of here, constantly weighing on my mind. Luckily, I got out of the relationship with help of friends, and I have a daughter with my safe haven. We're married, and he's not so much as raised a hand at me. I'm safe.
It was a dead bedroom situation. And not just no sex, but no intimacy, no connection, and fairly toxic. But I felt stuck in the overall relationship and didn't know how to get out. The first time I had an affair, it was more of an impulsive mistake that I regretted deeply and said, I'll never do that again. I tried to make the marriage work, but a few years later it wasn't, and I thought having a sexual, romantic affair would round out things that were missing in my life and make things survivable. Instead, after barely even meeting up with the other man, it made me realize, I can't do this, I need to decide between being married or not. I was separated and divorced 2 months later. So, I guess I only half qualified to answer the question because it's not like I continued merrily along with the relationship.
I was with my ex for 7 years. He was incredibly emotionally abusive. He constantly called me fat, compared me to his female friends and made sure I knew he wanted to fuck them, told me no other guy would ever want me. He eventually got to the point of changing the Wi-Fi password and making me do tasks to get it, taking TV remotes, my phone, etc. I was afraid to leave my house because of him. I had pretty severe bipolar disorder and issues with self-harming. I was on medicine and 4 years cut-free at this point. We were supposed to be going on a trip to Colorado. About a week before, he told me he only loved me as a friend but wanted to stay with me because he didn't know how to be alone. I was devastated, but didn't think I was mentally or financially independent to leave. He had basically isolated me from all of my friends and I moved away from family to be with him. We decided to stay together and just work on things. Essentially, we both just hoped he would start loving me again, I guess. The day we were leaving for CO, he informed me he never bought my ticket and never intended on me going. I stayed home and cheated while he was on that trip. As soon as he came home, I told him. I felt awful. I knew there was no excuse for what I did regardless of how he treated me. I told him I wanted to leave. We broke up but continued living together for the next 6 months, him mostly trying to fix our relationship while I just wanted to bury my pain in other people. It was truly awful and I wish I would have just been strong enough to leave rather than cheat. I will regret it probably for the rest of my life, although I am ultimately thankful our relationship ended.
I was in a relationship for a year before my boyfriend admitted to me he had a wife and kids. You can't imagine the lengths he went to hide his family from me. I had absolutely no idea. The only thing that could have been a clue is that I never went to his place, he always came to mine. Anyway, after he confessed, he said he was going to get divorced. He had been contemplating it since before he met me, blah blah blah. After realizing that he wasn't actually going to do it, and also that I didn't actually want him and to be a homewrecker, I ended it. He told me he couldn't risk losing his kids in a custody battle, which I got, but it pissed me off so much how sad and hurt he was that I was leaving him. Anytime I started to miss him afterwards, I just reminded myself he is a selfish fuck who jeopardized his family because he married someone who, in his words, he never even liked. If you find yourself in a similar situation, remember, this person might have genuine feelings for you, but they are a terrible human being and someone you can't trust to build a life with. Get out.
Cheated on a highly abusive ex. The relationship was long done in my head before I ever cheated, and I didn't end it because I was on the receiving end of the "without you I'll kill myself" narrative. I was 18 and genuinely believed he would. Didn't realize how horrific the abuse was until years after we broke up.
There is an old saying, a person would rather hang their arm out of a bus window and have it ripped off by oncoming traffic than to deal with ending a long-term relationship in the right way.
Thanks for watching Reddit with Husky. Hit the subscribe button for more video, and let me know in the comment whether you will tell your partner if you have cheated.